everyone, it's Hannah and welcome back to another video. I hope that you are well. Today I am going to be talking to you about the pros and cons of owning your own business. First off, a huge thank you to Skillshare for sponsoring this video, but I'll talk about how great they are in a little bit. I am a small business owner, in case you didn't know. I work full-time in my creative business, The Corner of Craft. I dye yarn and I make little beaded stitch markers, and my business is going to be 10 years old this year. And it's also going to be, come June, I would have worked 5 years full-time for myself, which is mind-boggling how all of that time has managed to pass. I don't quite understand it, but I'm going to chat to you today about the pros and cons of owning your own business whilst putting far too much makeup on my face for a casual weekday afternoon. But I have a whole separate video on the history of the Corner of Craft and how it came to be and all of that fun stuff. Feel free to check that out if you are interested. If not, no pressure. But yeah, let's get on with the video and jump to me with no makeup on. Enjoy. Please excuse the washing in the background. We have to get creative with drying sheets in the winter time when it's too cold outside for them to actually do anything. So we are going to start out with the positives of owning your own business, because it's always good to start with the positives rather than the negatives. But then we end on a low, so I guess it's also not good. Either way, we're starting with the positives. So I feel like I shouldn't preface with this, or shouldn't have to preface with this, but I'm going to. These are my own personal experiences. This is obviously my own personal experience of running a yarn business and stitch markers and whatnot, a creative business, if you will. So not everyone's experience is going to be the same depending on what business you run and how you run the business, but these are just things that I have found. One of the huge advantages is the fact that you work for yourself. You don't have anyone above you telling you what to do, when to do it, telling you how to do something or whatever. You get to choose yourself what you want to do, and I absolutely love that. I think it's the thing that I would struggle with if I had to go back to like a normal job in the future at any point. I think I would really struggle with being told what to do, because I've grown quite accustomed to working for myself now. Okay, I fixed the exposure. At least I think I fixed the exposure, so I shouldn't be as blown out anymore. I just had a bit of a play around with it, sorry. But yes, as I was saying, I can set my own schedule. I absolutely love that I can set my own schedule. In the past, I would have to fight to get holiday. I was only allowed a certain number of Saturdays off a year. There was a time when I wasn't allowed to have school holidays off, which was when Maria was a teacher. So that was obviously a huge inconvenience. And yeah, it's very helpful and very useful to not have to fight with my colleagues, essentially, to get time off. I can just take time off whenever I want. If I wake up and I feel a bit ropey, I can just do a half day of work, or I can take a morning off and do work in the afternoon, or I can set my own schedule. If I want to have a slow day, I can have a slow day. If I want to be more productive, I can be more productive, and I essentially don't have to answer to anyone else, and it's very nice. I can set whatever deadlines I want to set, so if there's events happening in the year, then I can choose when my deadlines are, or when I'm launching something or what have you, and I can kind of work it around the various events. I'm going to 3 weddings this year. 3, how exciting. And so I know that on those weekends, don't set anything. Don't set anything that I have to check my phone for. Don't set a shop update for then. Don't, just take that weekend off. And that's fine, because I know I'm guaranteed to have it. When my parents come up to visit, I know that I can work my socks off before they come up, and it means that I don't have to work as hard while they're here. Well, I'll probably have to do some work this time around because it was a bit more short notice, but yeah, it's good. I like it. I very much like it. I can make whatever I want. I don't get told that I should do something in a certain way. I don't get told that I have to do these colourways. I don't get told that I have to make these stitch markers. It's nice. It's nice to have that creative freedom in a job, especially a job that relies on creativity. It is nice to have that freedom there to do what you want. And I guess the biggest pro of all, I'm not done with the pros, there are more, but the biggest pro of all is actually my job is just quite fun. I find it fun. I find dyeing yarn and making stitch markers super duper fun. Some days I feel more like bead weaving than I do dyeing yarn, and that's fine because I can choose to do that. But as a general rule, dyeing yarn and bead weaving are super fun things to do. I generally really enjoy my job, the day-to-day of it. Overall, just quite fun. Just quite fun. I'm not going to go into huge amounts of detail, but my income is far better than it was when I had any of my other jobs, which is obviously also a perk. And I understand not everyone is in that same position, and I completely get that. But like I say, this is talking about my own experiences, and I feel like that is a definite pro. I have 2 cats up here. A huge highlight for me is seeing customers post with what things they have made, the items that they've created using stuff that they've bought from me. Sometimes being a small business owner is difficult because it's kind of like you're talking into the void, and sometimes you can send things off and you can hear when people don't receive things, and sometimes you hear more criticism, feedback than praise, which is fine. It's just, you know, people don't tend to comment when things go to plan, but people tend to comment when things don't go to plan. So you don't always hear when people receive their parcel, but you will always hear when someone doesn't receive their parcel, which I obviously get it because that's obviously an issue. But yeah, when you see someone post that they've knit, I don't know, a shawl or crocheted a jumper or a pair of socks or whatever out of yarn that you have dyed, oh, it's so nice. Which leads me onto my final pro, which is connecting with people. I love this community that has been created around the corner of craft online, and I love chatting with you all, and there are friends that I don't think I would have made. And once again, I know this isn't true of all small businesses, especially if you're not an online small business, but the people that I've met, oh, amazing. It's a definite perk to the job and something I really love about it. Before I move on to the cons and the rest of my makeup, let's chat about Skillshare, shall we? Thank you so much to Skillshare for sponsoring this video. Skillshare is an online learning community for those of us who are curious and creative. There are thousands of classes available, each of them led by real working creatives who are keen to share their expertise with you. You might already know that there are classes available in a huge range of crafts, such as knitting and crochet techniques, photography, illustration and jewellery making, but did you also know Skillshare has hundreds of career-focused classes too? The new year is a perfect time to reinvent your goals. Being a small business owner is difficult, and I find that the classes specialising in time management, helping me find clarity over my goals and confidence in my creativity and business decisions are all so valuable and helpful to me. So I've just finished the Skillshare class that I've just taken. It's called Designing the Life You Want, 4 Exercises for Clarity and Motivation. It's by someone called Michelle B. And I won't lie, I almost didn't click on this because it sounded a bit woo-woo and a bit like manifest a better life. And I guess it kind of is, but I've never really been one for like manifesting, and she never uses the word, which I like. But I have actually found it very helpful. It's not actually that long of a class, which is one of the things that drew me in. But then I obviously paused it and did the work. So this 22-minute class actually has taken me an hour and a half, so, but I did quite like that. She takes you through what your anti-vision is, which is the term I believe that she's coined, which is basically what you don't want your life to look like in 5 years' time. And then you go through and discuss ways on how you can prevent that from happening, which I very much enjoyed. And then the final exercise is to create your perfect working day, which I very much enjoyed. Now obviously that was just a rough summary. She is much better at explaining it than me, but I do actually very much recommend this class, and yeah, enjoyed it a lot. I think it was very helpful, and yeah, it's making me motivated on improving things for the future. No goal is too small with Skillshare, so if you want to add more me time to your life, build a personal brand, or dip your toe into diversifying your income, Skillshare has a class for that. All of the Skillshare classes have projects, discussion boards and resources. It's an interactive experience and it's designed with learning in mind. There are no ads to interrupt you. The first 1,000 people to use the link will get a 1-month free trial of Skillshare. Please check out the description box below for more information. Thank you so much once again to Skillshare for the sponsorship, and let's get back to the video, shall we? So as I'm talking, I'm very aware that it might seem like that there are more cons to pros, and that is not true. Well, okay, so there might be, in number, more negatives to positives. However, the pros far outweigh the negatives, because if I didn't enjoy this job, I wouldn't do this job. The cons all tend to be like little things that add up to be an annoyance, whereas the pros are, you know, bigger things overall. And I think the fact that I can say I enjoy my job is a huge thing, because I know not everyone is in that position. So lots of these little things that I mention are things outside of my control that I can't do anything about. And they tend to be more the business side of things rather than the creative side of things. For example, stock shortages. Oh my goodness. Now, this isn't an issue overall, but it was a huge issue in 2020 and 2021 when mills closed and wool couldn't be processed, so yarn wasn't getting shipped, and there were just overall yarn shortages. And then when yarn came in, people bought it on huge quantities because they were like, oh my goodness, I finally can I should buy all this yarn in case it runs out again, which then led to more yarn shortages because the mills were buying in the same amount they would usually, but people were buying more of it, and I guess there were more yarn dyers that popped up through various lockdowns. Anyway, it was very stressful. And also dyes have been reformulated, which is incredibly annoying because they can't get hold of various pigments because of, I don't know, the pandemic, I'm guessing. So yeah, navigating these things and having to shift the direction of your business can be a little bit stressful. So I briefly mentioned that my income is higher than it has been at my previous jobs, which is lovely, but the downside is it's very inconsistent. There is no job security there. I don't get paid holiday, and yeah, if I don't work, I don't get paid, which is very stressful, very stressful. I'm very aware that my job is me making and selling luxury craft products. They are not an essential. I know that it's probably one of the first things that will go from people's budgets if they're having to budget a little bit more because they don't have as much excess cash at the end of the month, for example. And here in the UK at least, we're in a cost of living crisis. There's talks of a recession, and yeah, that is very stressful. Very stressful to know that my customer base could just be gone because electricity is more important than yarn, because of course it is. Yeah, it's not the most fun position to be in. It's one reason I'm very glad that I have these multiple streams of income. I've got YouTube, I've got sponsorships, I've got affiliate things, I've got, I don't know, I try and have different sources of income, and while my shop is my biggest source of income, it's in Patreon is another one. It's nice to have these little things to fall back on if I need them. For me, social media is a pro and a con. I love it. I love the connecting with people and sharing with people. I enjoy making videos and content overall. I obviously like that it is a revenue source for me. Instagram over the last year has just not been fun at all for me in the slightest. With its ever-changing algorithms, it's now going back to promoting photos more, which is great, but now it's got to a point where I just don't know what to post anymore, and it's just completely taken the fun out of social media, and it's just, I don't know, it's way more hard work than it used to be, and running a business alone is difficult enough without having to rely on algorithms to show potential customers what you're making and selling. When you're using Instagram as a way to promote your business and none of your followers, your potential customers are, oh, I've gone very heavy on the makeup. None of your potential customers are seeing what you're posting. It's very stressful. It's very stressful, which is why I will always encourage people to post to several different social media platforms, because I feel like it's very important. It's a lot of juggling. It can be a bit stressful to juggle all the social media platforms, but it's so worth it, because then you have, oh, butterfly. You've got more eyes on your content. Something I struggle with day to day of running my business is self-motivation. you have to be quite self-motivated. I'm very much a people pleaser. I don't know if you know this about me. I would often go above and beyond when working a traditional job, which is not good because I would work above what I was being paid. But I was also a people pleaser in school, and I love compliments and getting positive feedback. And yeah, I'm not as motivated when it's just myself I'm relying on. So self-motivation, sometimes just to start a task, it can be really difficult. Some days are very slow to get going, and I just tell myself, right, I'm just going to dye a few skeins of yarn, and then I'll be done for the day. I'll just do a few, and then once I get started, I'm fine, and then I do loads. But it's just doing those first few, or getting out the beading tray, or whatever. Sometimes it's a huge, huge struggle. But yeah, I always try and find something else to do, business related instead, if I can't be bothered to do it. It's just like, right, if you're not doing this today, you're doing your finances, which is no fun. But, you know, sometimes I just want to stay sat indoors all day instead of being out in the cold dye shed. So the outside changes that you can't control are really stressful. Postal strikes this past November and December were awful, and then at the beginning of this year Royal Mail weren't posting anything internationally. Now I'm very fortunate in that it didn't impact me hugely because that's the wrong one. I was away. I had so many parcels that were either held up in going at all or got lost, so I'd either have to resend something or refund someone, and then I'd put a claim into Royal Mail and all I got was the price of the postage bag. I lost quite a lot of money this Christmas through lost parcels, and it's very, very stressful to have to deal with. The other thing was Brexit, when that happened, and all of these various rules changed, which I knew they would, but the government weren't overly helpful with telling us in simple terms what we needed to do. I'm still not sure what I need to do, but it seems to be working, so I'm just rolling with it. But things like that, where all of a sudden everything changes because we're no longer in the EU and no longer have that trade partnership or whatever. Yeah. No fun in the slightest. The final con that I'm going to speak about is, I had more listed, but I didn't want this just to turn into like, owning a business is the worst video, because it's not the worst. But sometimes it's easier to focus on the negative than the positive, and I don't understand why that is, but there must be a reason for it. You have to be quite thick-skinned. There we go, let's put the right thing in the right tense. You have to be quite thick-skinned. You're never going to please everyone, and that is very difficult when you are creating something and selling it, because you put a lot of time and effort and energy and love into the things that you are creating, and it can be very difficult to hear criticism back. There will always be criticism though, because that is the nature of people who will always have a problem with some of the things that you do. Be it they have a problem with the way that you run your business, they have a problem with the way that you express your views, they will have a problem with the colourways that you do, or I don't know. There will always be people who criticise and feel the need to tell you different ways that you should do things, and that can be very difficult. And it's also people in the real world who don't, I say real world, I mean the non-yarn world, or people who aren't in the industry that you work in, who don't understand what you do. And I don't know, I used to for a long time. When meeting someone, they would ask what you do, I would explain it to them and then feel the need to justify it to them if they questioned it. Now I no longer justify it because it's not my place to explain my job to someone else, and it's not usually worth the headache, so I generally don't explain anymore what I do. If people are genuinely interested, then sure, I will explain, but oftentimes they are not, so I don't, because people will just hear that I work with, you know, making things and selling them, and just think it's a little hobby business and that it's not my full-time income, and actually I've managed to buy a house because of it and blah blah blah. They just think it's a little hobby that I have, that I do for fun, and I, you know, my husband supports me whilst I just play around, but actually that's not the case. And yeah, I felt the need to justify it for a really long time, and now I just don't bother because it's not worth the energy. Luckily, I don't meet that many new people anymore, but you know, it can be difficult. But I also understand because it is like an odd concept to people that don't get it, but it's also frustrating that they don't just like take your word at face value sometimes. Overall, I love owning my business. I love it so much. It's so much fun, and I really, really, really enjoy it. I'm so grateful to be in this position, and I'm so grateful to you for supporting me, be it you shop with me, you click the link in the description box so sponsors keep coming back to me, you shop through my affiliate code, you support me on Patreon, or you just watch this video all the way through with ads on. It all supports me, and you know, you just interacted with this video. That also helps. It all supports me, and I'm so, so grateful because yeah, I wouldn't be where I am without it. So thank you so much. I know it felt like I listed a lot of negatives, but like I say, it's just, sometimes it's just easier to focus on the negative than the positive, and I don't know why that is, but I do love this job. So yeah, please, if you have any pros and cons that I didn't mention, feel free to leave them in the description box below. If you have any questions, please feel free to ask them. I definitely meant the comments, not the description box. If you would like to check out Skillshare, link is in the description box, along with anything else that I think you might need, like the links to my social media and all of that fun stuff. That is all down there if you think that is something that you would like to check out. And yeah, leave me a comment down below. Feel free to subscribe if you haven't already. Give this video a thumbs up. It all helps me out, and I truly do appreciate it. If you would like to support me on Patreon and get an extra video a week, sign up to be part of the Biscuit Brew crew. It would be lovely to have you here. I've got a few new people. It's very nice to see you there. Thank you. My new yarn collection is going live tomorrow, Saturday the 18th of February at 10 AM GMT. So feel free to check that out if you want to. No pressure. It is a pre-order, so there's plenty of time. Oh, I'm so nervous about it. But yes, with all that being said, I feel like I've talked to you for long enough. I have way too much makeup on for literally doing nothing all day. Editing this is what I'll be doing now. Looking like this. Lovely. Anyway, thank you so, so much for watching. Thank you for spending this time with me whilst I got ready for the day, I guess. And I will see you very soon in my next video. Bye.